My name's Tony Williams. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I trained with one of the big firms, KPMG, and since then I've had various financial controller roles in manufacturing businesses, typically large businesses, and more recently in smaller businesses with some IT companies. Before I joined EFM, I was working for a company in Bedfordshire. They actually designed software for queuing systems. They are the owners of the cashier number 3 phrase. So, cashier number 3, please, when you stand at the post office. Anyway, I joined that company in 2009 at the height of the recession. I'd previously been unemployed, and it wasn't really the job that I was after, but at the time, you jump on board, there's a job. And I lasted 2 years there. It was interesting. We put in some new systems. They had cash flow difficulties, but by the time I left, the company had downsized quite rapidly. During my time there, I worked out that they didn't need a full-time accountant. The company was a size that needed financial input, but not full-time financial input. And I remember thinking, wouldn't it be great if I could go and do this as a career? It would have a particular advantage for me because I would be in control of my own destiny. I could go to 2 or 3 small companies, give them financial support, and I wouldn't be reliant on one particular company for my living. Well, I decided when I was made redundant, just, if you like, to take a little bit of time out. There's a mixture of emotions at the time, isn't there? And part of mine was I did not want to go back into the same sort of role that I had been doing. It wasn't hugely satisfying. It was initially when there was things to change and things to do. But also, I wanted a bit more control over my life. And the idea of working for 2 or 3 smaller companies on a part-time basis had a huge appeal. What I didn't really know was how to go about it, and like a lot of accountants, the sheer thought of marketing myself to someone else just fills me with horror. And I still don't like it, but I know it's something you have to do. And so I had worked out that I didn't want to be on my own doing this, but I still didn't know who or what or where. So a little bit of research on the internet, threw up a few suggestions. And also I think on LinkedIn, I was contacted by a rival to EFM through LinkedIn. So I did go and visit them. And then I came on a discovery day from EFM, which I think I found through the website as well. So it was a bit of research. And the discovery day was great. There was an element of disappointment because I then realised that my great idea had already been robbed by EFM. But it did look a good match, and well, we followed it through. I think the big plus when I came to EFM and the discovery day has got to be Gary and Malcolm. They're very approachable. They're not aggressive, and we had a dialogue that went on for, it was nearly another 12 months before I joined, because as I was going through the process of looking at this kind of work, I was offered a temporary position as well, which is a bit ironic because I wasn't really looking for the job, but I was offered it, and I took the opportunity. And I think this sums it up in a way, as I had an ongoing dialogue with Gary for the best part of 12 months, and never once did I feel under pressure to do anything I didn't want to do. And I think even if I, at the end of it, said to Gary, no, this isn't for me, I think we'd have stayed in touch. There was always that feeling of support from Gary. So I felt totally comfortable in the ethos. And it's the same ethos they have with their clients. It's, if I say softly, but it's build a relationship with the client. It's non-aggressive, fully supportive. And that suits my personality down to the ground. And it's paid off. So I think if you talk of hooks, it's definitely Gary and Malcolm and the ethos of EFM. It's very friendly. Just after I joined, Gary introduced me to a client in London. They're an advertising agency, and the brief was very simple. the company was about to pay their staff and there wasn't enough money in the bank. So I did sort of smile. I thought, well, this will be a short-term task, won't it? I won't be there very long, but I have to say 12 months on, I'm still there. And it's worked very well. Gary has an overseeing role because he met the client first and made the introduction. But during that time, I've kept the company going to some extent in terms of we haven't run out of cash, which we thought we would do, and we haven't had to go to the bank to borrow funds. So that's been good. What's been particularly pleasing about it is just last month, that company made me their employee of the month. So all the years I was actually in paid employment, I was never employee of the month. And then when I'm not their employee, I've become employee of the month. So I've got this rather beautiful 18-inch bronze statuette sitting on my desk. And I know it cost £2,500 because it was one of the creditors I had to pay when I initially joined. One of the things I enjoy about working for EFM or working for myself through EFM is, to an extent, the freedom to choose when I work and when I don't. And I don't mean that flippantly, because you have to look after your client and that's what it's about. But to give you an example, outside of work, I'm a school governor and I'm actually a chair of governors. That takes up quite a lot of my time, and it's something I've done for a few years and I really enjoy doing it. And all the time that I was paid in employment, it was never an issue to take the time off to attend meetings. But there was always that feeling that somehow you've got to make up the time. You're somehow accountable to someone else for what you do with your time. And working as I do now, I can just decide I won't work Wednesday morning, I will go and do some governor's work. And that's it, I'm not responsible to someone else for that. And so I feel a huge sense of freedom that I've never felt before. Very flexible. And similarly, I can take time off with my children. And it's their birthdays, I can take the day off and not explain to someone why I want the day off. I enjoy that. I think when you start working for yourself, you have to be prepared to make your own efforts. It's not a regular employment, is it? You don't have a contract of employment. You can't expect that you will take home the same paycheck every month. And that is a different mindset altogether. That's an element of security that you don't have when you're working for yourself. Although I would say to people, having been made redundant a couple of times in the last few years, is permanent work necessarily secure either? So yes, if that's what you want to do and it gives you freedom, then I would say go for it.